We'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with our invocation.
I wasn't sure if you guys are recognizing you. Father God in heaven, we thank you for tonight. I just pray that you just bless these people here that run this city, and I think they do a wonderful job. And so, God, I pray for peace, and I pray for mercy, and I pray your Holy Spirit runs this opportunity. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any changes to the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Second. There's been a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We're moving on to public comments. This is a time where citizens are encouraged to speak publicly. We request that you come to the podium and state your name and address, speak respectfully, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Are there any public comments?
I have one.
Please.
You got a timer? I'm a pretty fast talker, so I'll try to get 30 minutes in 3. How's that sound? So I'm Pastor Dwight Whited. I reside at 811 West Fifth Street. I'm a taxpayer. The thrift store was shut down last week, as you all know. By the way, none of this is anybody's fault in here, okay? And I acknowledge that. What I don't appreciate is that we didn't get heads up. It took me 30 hours, and I had to get an extension from Tim, and he was gracious enough to give me 1. I asked for 2. All right, to get everything out of there. Okay, it cost us $1,690.50. The church, okay, the second richest church in the world is the Catholic Church, which 2 of you do the cross. All right, when I pray, all right, they don't dump the money I dump into this town for the poor. 90% of the poor, by the way, that don't go to my church. Okay, so it'd been a little bit of nice of a heads up to get more than 24 hours. A no knock notice is what it was with 2 cops. The chief of police, and by the way, I brought the cops too, but not for me, but there was some hostile people upstairs, okay? We displaced 6 people, all right, that again, I have nothing to do with. But I will tell you that we pump into this town for the poor at Fellowship when we got no notice. We got 24-hour notice, and it could have been better. That's all I'm saying. It could have been better. A heads up on Sunday, and I had my regular employees. I had 20 people in there for 30 hours. And I just want to know if anybody wants to reimburse me $1,690.50. Does anybody want to do that? See, I told you I could get down to 3 minutes short. Yep. Thank you.
Are there any further public comments? Seeing none, we'll move into proclamations, recognitions, and presentations. The first is the Resource Center budget request.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for letting me come and speak to you for a little bit tonight. My name is Tanya Merrill, and I'm the Executive Director of the Cloud County Resource Center and Food Bank. This year, we are requesting, just as we did last year, for that $5,000 increase, which will bring our budget to $45,000 to address specifically the rising cost of food and hygiene items for the food bank itself. So in your presentations, there's a lot of numbers here. There are a few bits and pieces that I think are really important that I want to pull out and kind of highlight. There is one tiny typo. It should be 2025, not 2026. We're not far enough into 26 yet to know how many people we will serve for that year. But for 2025, we served 2,021 people out of this county. So we did have a pretty good chunk. It is the largest that we have ever served at those risen food prices. So we want to try to address that. We want to try to hit it a little bit. Over the course of the last couple of years, we've really tightened in on pulling that spending in local. So in case you're wondering where those dollars are going, they are staying in Cloud County. So we have adjusted. We used to take a food truck from Wichita. We no longer do that. We keep our money in county because it's your money. We want to make sure we're spending it on our folks here from here, rounding it out, keeping that circle tight. Just to kind of round out what the year in review looked for us. We all know what the sticker shock looks like, so I'm not going to highlight that too heavily because you all have families who buy groceries. You know what this looks like. You don't need me to tell you that. So that is not new news. Among the activities that we've had over the last year or so, Resource Center held 4 sessions of gardening club, 3 for children and 1 for adults. The program introduced about 61 new participants to the Resource Center, expanding the knowledge of gardening for children and adults, both as young as 6 years old, and our gardeners grew just over 2,000 seedlings. We just finished our newest round of indoor gardening last week, in fact, and grew another 1,000 or so seeds, and all of those children were under the age of 10. So this was our smallest age of gardeners, our junior gardeners. They had a blast. They played in the dirt, had a great time, grew lots of good stuff, and learned some important stuff along the way. We've also fostered a very successful collaboration you probably heard a little bit about last year, although it happened after this meeting, so you didn't get to hear about it for that, with K-State River Valley Extension to promote digital spending at the Concordia Farmers Market. So that partnership will continue again this year, and we are very pleased to expand it now. We have some federal dollars to help all of our folks go out there, spend their SNAP dollars more carefully, more wisely, and double up their money on fresh produce, breads, baked goods, that kind of stuff. And so there will be some other match days in addition to that to make sure that our people can get a lot of that good, fresh produce, bona fide, certified, local, closing out that circle as well. And that added about 50 families to Farmers Market. So we're very pleased with that. And we are planning to host several events of our own with Farmers Market this year to help promote that collaboration. Additionally, the Resource Center served about 300 clients with pre-K through college age school bags last year, packed with supplies, complete with supplies, brand new bags, and 345 families with holiday baskets, both for Thanksgiving and for Christmas. So that project was so nice, we did it twice. That also includes 62 Silver Santa baskets, 120 baskets of just food, and over 2,000 gifts between the Abate Toy Run and ourselves. So we were hustling at Christmas, as we always are. And so those are our two biggest times of the year. I always jokingly say that we spend 8 months of the year prepping for the last 4, June and July, November and December. So kind of put them together for you. We also incorporated 55 volunteers who put in just under 300 additional hours of time to help support these projects. We absolutely couldn't get this work done without our volunteers. And so that army of volunteers get their own applause. They're not here, unfortunately, to hear that, but I'm never not sad that we have them to lean back on when we need to. We also dispensed 36 brand new coats last year, 22 sets of bedding, and 10,000 packets of seeds, including about 5,000 of those going to Winfield Correctional Establishment after they had already gone through all of our local schools. So we kicked a bunch of those over to all of our school greenhouses. Then when we still had leftovers and didn't want to store them, we contacted Winfield Correctional, who is having their inmates participate in the Master Gardener class as part of their rehabilitation. So then they were able to use about 5,000 of those packets and grew more than 10,000 of their own seedlings off of those packets because we didn't want them to go to waste. I'll talk about that just a little bit more in a second. This year, we actually were able to expand our free seed library to include bulbs. So we'll also have some new things coming up, new gardening things for our people who come to pick those up. This is our second year for the little free seed library. If you're not familiar with it, it's relatively new. The Crisis Fund also paid for natural gas, water, electricity, pharmacy, and medical bills for about 368 people. And 484 rides to the food bank picked up by the Resource Center as well. So we pay for that transportation for folks who are not able to get to the Resource Center to pick up their groceries and then get back home. I also had 24 speaking engagements over the last year, including a keynote speech at the commencement ceremony of Master Gardeners at Winfield Correctional Facility. So that was interesting. We were able to see all of their facilities. We're hoping that eventually we might be able to expand a little bit and copy some of the things that they were able to do. So it was very interesting. I also attended and spoke at 4 conferences, including Hunger Free Kansas and the Local Food Summit. So lots of collaborations and things happening. We also collaborated with the Concordia Senior Center to bring back their book club and to relaunch our writers group. So those things have been going on now for a few months and we're getting some success, getting some traction. So that will continue. As I said, we also continue to expand our farmers market work this year and try to make sure that we are doing the best work in this community we can, in addition to what we're good at, which is feeding our people and making sure they're well cared for. We want to maintain that quality of life as much as we can. On your back page of your packets are some of the fun pictures, some of the things that we did over the year, including some of our speaking engagements, some of our seedlings from the kiddos, the school bags, and then you have a lovely one of the incoming packages that are getting ready to be processed at Christmas. So if you're looking at that, there's a picture of a table full of goodies there. We had 9 Walmart carts in total come in order to complete our Silver Santa, Angel Tree, etc. Took nine carts of stuff. Heaping carts of stuff. So busy things always going on, things always expanding. We're always trying to fill those gaps as best we can. But we're only able to do that because you guys help us out. So we appreciate it so much, that you let me come and speak to you for a few minutes and bore you with all of the statistics of what's going on. So I appreciate that you gave me a little bit of our time, but thank you also on behalf of our board and our volunteers for helping us to do this important work. We think it's very important and we hope to continue it as our passion project. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Tanya, I do.
Yes.
So to qualify to receive, is it poverty level? You have to hit 100% poverty level?
Yeah, you have to. It's the same income base basically that's used for commodities.
Okay.
So it's 100 to 130.
100. Okay, that was my question. Is it 130? Because that number of 2021 is
You also must prove residency inside county, so you have to bring me something that shows your official residency inside my county, and you have to prove your ID. So
It just seems like the number is very high based on what our poverty rate is 10%.
county, so
But still, our poverty rate is 10%, and that's represents 22% of our
Yeah.
county, so,
we do also have some repeat visitors there, so it's not, they're not all unique visitors.
okay. Yeah, it just seems like, a large portion of our county doesn't quite match up with our demographics, it seems like.
How frequently can they use the food bank? It's not that often. is
Once a
it?
calendar month.
Once a calendar month,
Yes.
okay.
So there's potentially like the over 2,000 could be divided by 12 theoretically or not.
There are only about 200 that are repeaters, so
Only
they're
about
set
200.
aside. We don't count them in all of that 2,000 for you.
Okay.
Yeah, but remember that also includes our homeless pantry, our hygiene pantry, our infant pantry. So all of that gets put into the food pantry together. So you also have folks in here who only come in and get baby formula, for example, or who only come in as part of the homeless pantry. So
Thank you for serving the community.
thank you so much. If you have no other questions, I believe I'm finished. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Next, we have the senior center budget requests.
Thanks for having me here tonight. My name is Richard Hubert. I'm the treasurer for the senior center. And thought I would just kind of go through the little packet that I gave you. I have a summary here also, but there's a little more fine points in the packet. Our two basic kind of things that we specialize in are our Meals on Wheels program and senior socialization, getting people into the senior center to socialize. The Meals on Wheels program uses volunteer drivers, so we're not putting out any money for drivers. We do offer them a free meal if they desire. That doesn't get taken advantage of though. So the senior center activities at the center provide a gathering place for seniors to stay engaged with each other and the community, and a place to gather for meals. We have in-house meals as well as the Meals on Wheels. Right now, we're averaging, or this last year, we averaged 890 meals per month. So 10,683 meals served in 2025. The current meal prices are $5 for those 60 and over and $6 for those under 60. The cost of meals doesn't cover our wages. It has averaged out, so it pretty much covers the food costs. But there is a price point that we don't want to go above, because people then will not be able to even afford the Meals on Wheels. And as it is, we do have some that can't afford even the $5. So we still get them fed because we don't want them to go hungry. There's a graph in your packet that shows the different meals that we serve. There's a top line, that is the Meals on Wheels, which shows that that's the biggest portion that we're serving. That is the most important because people can't get out of their homes, they're homebound, handicapped, just got out of a hospital, things like that will make sure they get fed. Our wages represent 40, I think it's 40, let me look here, 45% of our expenses, and the food represents 30%. when we broke away from, having the North Central Flint Hills Area Agency on Aging running the meal program, one of our goals was to keep the money local, which they didn't allow us to do. But now we can do that. Some of the other things that we do are activities and get involved with the community itself. For instance, at Fall Fest, we had a king and queen in the parade. I actually stole that idea from Milton Vale. They do it every year. We had a group of girls called the Freedom Girls that came in, made meatballs for one of our meals. And we've had the JAG class from high school come in, and they've come in twice and made meals for us. And they're pretty good. We also rent the center out, and that has worked out well because we had one of the churches that their youth group, while they were remodeling, didn't have a place to go. So we rented that out every Wednesday for several months for them. We had some special meals. We had a Thanksgiving meal, a Christmas meal, and an Easter meal. That's the first time we've had an Easter meal. Some of the activities that we do are listed in there, and as Tanya had mentioned, we had the book club. We brought bingo back. We added the writing group, and we're looking at getting a license so that we could do some movies and things like that. So we're exploring other ways to get people more engaged than what they have been. Some of our projects, we completed a project to get a new steam table. We got a grant from the Dane G. Hansen Foundation and one from the wind farm to do that. We got a grant from the Community Foundation to get a new refrigerator. And we just finished putting fluorescent lights, or replacing our fluorescent lights with LED lights to cut down some of our costs. We got a grant for that. And we actually had a grant that was like a one sentence application that I had completely forgot about, but we got it. So it's from Greenbelt Express. And then just this last week, we used a wind farm grant of $5,000 to replace our gas range in our kitchen, which was starting to leak gas. So got that taken care of. And this year we're asking for the same amount we had last year, 15,000. You have any questions?
Okay, thank you very much. Frank Carlson, library budget request.
Hello, my name is Lindsay Cupsey. I'm the director at the Frank Carlson Library, and I am here to represent the Library Board of Trustees. I was asked by Amy to also provide a 2025 year in review. So I provided the commissioners with a couple handouts detailing some statistics from the previous year, an overview of our funding and expenditures, and the board's budget proposal for 2027. In 2025, my staff and I felt like we had finally hit our stride. Throughout the past 3 years, we've refined our collection and rearranged our layout to provide the community with the best browsing experience possible. Of our collection, 71% of the total circulation is physical books, primarily books for adults, followed closely by books for elementary and middle grade children. Beyond books, our collection includes a variety of movies and TV shows on DVD and Blu-ray, and a variety of tabletop and video games, all available for our community to check out and take home. Maintaining such a robust collection of materials is made possible by the efforts of our part-time staff who catalog, label, process all the materials and prepare them for the community to enjoy. A key aspect of our circulation is interlibrary loan. Donna Reedy, our full-time interlibrary loan specialist, has spent 10 years providing materials to our community by borrowing from libraries across the state of Kansas. Interlibrary loan allows our homeschool families to curate their curriculum for their children beyond what our library can provide. It also allows for us to better curate our own collection to provide a wider variety of materials to suit the interests of our diverse population. Interlibrary loan also provides our community with access to niche titles and authors that large libraries can provide, as well as titles that become unexpectedly popular due to social media. We have seen a noticeable rise in interlibrary loan borrows in our community in the last 3 years, as one of the graphs in your handout will show. But our modern library is not just books and movies. It's also about the services we can provide to our community. In 2025, the library staff assisted with nearly 2,000 reference interactions. What I mean by that is that's beyond checking items out to people. That's it's our staff providing our community with a variety of needs. Library staff regularly assists the public with printing tax forms, accessing live job applications, printing necessary court documents, or fixing a technical issue with their personal devices. Other times, it's our neighbors seeking resources, and we are able to refer them to the other community organizations, such as the Senior Center or the Resource Center, to better suit their needs that we can't. And perhaps equally as important as our collection and services and programming is programming and activities. Since 2022, attendance for our youth activities has steadily increased by the thousands. Shelby Newville, who is well known in our community, worked diligently with our local schools, daycares, and organizations to bring families into our library, as well as bring the library to our community. By summer of 2025, Shelby felt well established in her role and how to best serve our youth population. Also, by summer of 2025, the library hired Michaela Aldrich as our part-time adult services coordinator. Michaela spent 2025 shadowing Shelby to gain experience in planning and facilitating programs. And in 2026, as well as doing her adult services and programs, Michaela has stepped up to assist me with planning our summer library for this year. The mission of the Frank Carlson Library is to provide information, services, and entertainment for our community for free or at low cost. This is made possible by the continued collaboration with the City of Concordia, the generosity of our community, and the various resources available to us. Annual appropriations approved by the Commission are primarily utilized for the wages of library employees, payroll taxes, benefits for full-time staff, and related accounting fees. Its secondary use is the maintenance of our building and grounds, as well as the day-to-day operations. City appropriations is a key source of funding by a large margin, with 61.3% of 2025's expenses being paid for by local taxpayer funds, as you can see on the second page of our handout. Our second key source of funding is the Central Kansas Library System grant. This is an annual grant with a base allotment of $11,000, which is based on Concordia's population. To participate in statewide interlibrary loan, our library pays over $5,000 for a 5-day courier delivery, 89% of which is covered by those CKLS funds. Not the $11,000, a little bit more than that. Additional funds are granted based on out-of-district borrowers, cardholders that live outside of Concordia city limits, and the lending of our materials through interlibrary loan. In the last 3 years, Donna Reedy has had a 100% positive response rate, meaning she is consistently responding to the inquiries of other libraries and sending our materials throughout the state. To qualify for CQLS funds, the Frank Carlson Library must qualify for aid funds provided by the State Library of Kansas. State Library of Kansas provides each public library in the state a small portion of funding on top of the huge variety of resources made free to all residents in the state of Kansas. qualify for state aid funds, the city of Concordia must pass one of two tests. Maintain or increase the library's local budget, or maintain or increase the library's mill levy. In the last 3 years, the Frank Carlson Library has qualified for state aid and CQLS funds due to the regular increase of our local budget, while our mill levy has decreased each year. Based on the expenditures in 2025, on behalf of the Library Board of Trustees, I would like to present the City Commissioners with our proposed budget for 2027. In an effort to maintain a collaborative relationship with the city, the board and I have carefully assessed and reorganized our annual budget over the last 3 years to optimize our overall maintenance and operations budgets while prioritizing the library staff in such a way that best supports our community. In 2024, adjustments were made and the city approved an increase of funds to promote Shelby Newell from part-time to full-time. In 2025, further refinements were made and the library was able to hire Michaela, our adult services coordinator. Now in 2026, our budget is as lean as we can make it without jeopardizing our ability to run the library smoothly day to day. Unfortunately, in early 2026, Shelby took a full-time position elsewhere and has reduced her hours at the library to Thursday story times only. While Shelby felt deeply fulfilled working in our library, her family's financial needs were beyond what her library wages could provide. This has elevated employee wages to the forefront of the board's attention, and that is reflected in our proposal for 2027. In preparation for this budget presentation, the board and I agreed that our long-term goal is to elevate the library from a post-retirement workplace to a career that our community members can retire from. That can only be achieved by making our full-time positions competitive with other local businesses and better in line with the city of Concordia. Amy Lang provided the library with the city's wage schedule that shows that the starting rate for full-time city employees is slightly above $17 an hour. It is the goal of the library board to better align with this wage schedule to reach our long-term goals. The library board has already taken action towards this goal by increasing the hourly wage of Donna Reedy and has a starting rate for a full-time youth services position, which will be reopened in the fall. I am not here this evening to ask the City of Commissioners to blithely provide us with thousands of dollars without any question or consideration. What I am asking is for a continued amicable working relationship. Therefore, I am also here to disclose in 2026 the carry forward funds associated with the city appropriations. In January of 2026, the Frank Carlson Library carried forward nearly $80,000 in general appropriations. These are leftover funds from previous years, many years, not just 2025, that remain in our accounts as a cushion for such situations we find ourselves in this year. To achieve our goals of increasing the hourly wages of our tenured full-time employee, to hire a qualified youth coordinator at a reasonable rate, and to provide all library employees with a 2.5% living wage increase, the library will utilize that carry forward balance incrementally each year to supplement the wages of library staff in collaboration with the funds provided by the city. We will continue to utilize this cushion of funding over the next 5 to 7 years to ease the burden on the city while utilizing our taxpayer funds for its intended purposes. Direct service to our community through the employees they see every day. On behalf of the Library Board of Trustees and our library staff, I appreciate the Commissioner's consideration and continued support. If you have any questions, I will do my best to answer them. Sorry, I knew that took a while.
Well, sure.
So are you proposing then, I mean, I kind of have a clue of how much you're paying your employees now, and it's considerably below the going rate.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you proposing to increase that above just a living wage increase, or, the 2.5%?
For right now, the board took careful consideration of all employees, not just our full-time. For right now, just to, again, ease the burden on the city, we are focusing only on our full-time positions. Again, we're hoping to get those up to at least the starting rate of the city of at least 17 an hour.
How soon?
Donna has already started on that new rate that was effective for the last pay period. Mostly because we had made a job offer for a candidate at that rate. That offer was rejected. But the board has not rescinded Donna's salary increase, her wage increase. She's been with us for 10 years and she deserves it.
Yeah.
So for right now, it would be a 2.5 living wage increase for all members of staff at their current rate, as well as Donna's new pay rate and the proposed pay rate of at most $17 an hour for a new employee. And that is if dependent upon their qualifications, of course. Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, everyone.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to a discussion agenda, the city fireworks display, and Dan's here to visit with us tonight.
Hello, thanks for letting me speak here tonight. I have a couple of requests. Just so everybody knows, if they ever consider it, the fireworks show is probably the second largest gathering of people in a Concordia event besides Fall Fest. So I'll throw that up there. The first one, I want to check and see if we can get the city to help with the fire, police department, street department, and basically on the street department, just using the barricades that we set up around for the perimeters. It's nothing we've ever changed. It's gonna be the same what we've done in the last, I don't know how many years, 5 years, 6 years. And I've already talked to the police and the fire, everything good there. So just as long as we can, you know, again, get the help from them, that's one thing. And then the other thing is, Steve, they're asking the request about if we can get the city fees that are used for the fireworks stands donated towards, be used towards the show. And if you want to know what last year's numbers were, it was $3,337.50, which was brought in from the fees that people pay that have the tent and the stands in town. I'm just asking again, every year we do this, we ask to see if we use that money to be applied to the city fireworks show. And I can just kind of tell you a little bit, this year is the country's 250th birthday, so we're kind of like, I don't want to say going all out, but it's probably going to be one of the biggest and the best we did. It could be even bigger, but I'm still waiting on two things. One is to find out how much money comes in from the donations and stuff like that. And two is if this other guy that's helped us in the past that can be here to help with Class B, so we can add that, because we're so spread so thin and more stuff what we're doing this year, we don't have the time unless we have somebody that's got the expertise. And that stuff's used, you have to be certain license, and he's licensed, and here in Concordia, we have Derek's license, I'm licensed, and now my daughter's licensed, which she's a traveling tech, but she's gonna be here for the next 2 months. So we'll have at least 3, if not 4 licensed state shooters for the event, so. Again, like I said, with the 250th birthday, with talking about the wholesalers and stuff, everybody's talking like this is going to be a tremendous year of displays all over the whole state or the whole country. I just think we're going to try to do what we can to make sure that we're up there with them, with the best what we can do, what we have. So, but that's what I was adding for. See if we can vote on that again. See if we can get the city fees from the tents to be applied towards the show. A couple other things, I'm trying to raise extra money. I already had one raffle and we're doing another one. It just started, got it out last week. I'm doing a $1,000 shopping spree at Dano's Fireworks. And what I'm trying to do is, because we put on our Facebook page, we're trying to help, like so many of the businesses and a few individuals are supporting and pretty much taking care of everything. We're just trying to get more people, the individuals, to help. And so far, just in a little bit of a week of really starting it, there's been 3 or 4 people that came in and bought raffle tickets that have never donated before. So every little bit's gonna help. We're thinking about maybe next year. I don't think it's gonna go over too well, but for the parking at the fairgrounds, the vehicles come in, we're gonna have those 2 stations. We're gonna look at charging like $10 a vehicle. It doesn't matter if it's 1 person in there or 4, 5, 6 in the vehicle. Some way we're trying to raise extra money, that this is a certain group of people or businesses that are supporting this thing that, 1,000 to 2,000 people attend, so you start seeing these up around town. And when I can find time to get out there and get them put up, so I just thought I'd bring that to your information too, so. But thank you, and just, I'd like to know what you guys decide if we can do the fees again this year. Don't you gotta vote on it?
You guys can't take action even though it's on the discussion item, but it'd be helpful for us to have your guidance this evening. No motion?
I would move to allow the fees gathered from the local fireworks stands to go towards the city display.
Second,
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Does anybody have any questions, concerns, or anything?
I think you do a great job.
Well, thank you.
I don't think I went last year. I think I was somewhere else, but the year before that, I even had guests and they were very impressed with the quality of the display. So, as was I. So, thank you.
Good. We haven't started on it. We're running behind, but I've already talked to Mike and I gotta talk to the radio station again. When we do it, everything to music, this way we're gonna be broadcasting over all the Concordia radio stations, and there should not be a drag, should not be, between our song and what's going through the radio should be exact, so the public will have more of an idea why we're doing the songs, why things are going off, the timing of the song. So it's like I said, we're trying to go all out this year to make it good. So there's no questions. I appreciate you guys' time.
Thank you.
Oh, Dan, media question, please.
Okay. Yes, sir.
250th birthday of this great nation. What are some of the things you're planning on doing so we can get the word out?
Lighting fireworks.
Other than that,
Bunches of them.
big sign, big lighted.
I can't give all the information out yet because stuff's in the play, but we're gonna be doing, normally we try to do, I can't remember, it's 8 or 9 songs. And this year, I know we got, can't tell you the name of the songs yet either, but we have them all pretty much picked out except for 2, but the national anthem, and then there's like 2 or 3, we're doing some more patriotic songs. Adding in there. Of course, there's always gonna be a pop or a rock song or something like that too, but
This way, here's some big red, white, and blue 250th sign happening.
you don't know yet.
Okay,
Well,
I thought I'd get you on the.
it is kind of like, like American flag with Lance,
Yeah.
that still, gonna take a lot to get set up and everything like that, but it's one thing that we've talked about, so I can't say yes or no.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Thank you. Move on to our action agenda, the minutes of the May 6, 2026 meeting.
I move to approve the minutes of the May 6, 2026 meeting.
Second,
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Appropriation ordinance number 9.
I move to approve appropriation ordinance number 9.
Second,
There's been a motion and a second to approve appropriation ordinance number 9. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Frank Carlson Library Board appointments.
Mayor and Commissioners, this is something that unfortunately slipped through the cracks as we were in transition with the clerk. But we do have 2 expired library board appointments. These are folks that have served on the library board for at least 1 term, and we'd like to reappoint them. Lori Lowell and Alicia Slife, and their applications are enclosed in there for your consideration.
Just like to say they are very good members of the library.
I move to reappoint both Lori Lowell and Alicia Sype to the Frank Carlson Library Board.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Resolution 2026-2233.
Good evening. Excuse me. Good evening, Commissioners. With the heavy heart, I'm bringing you tonight, approval of resolution for public hearing for condemnation. The building, that we're in subject here talking about, this building was brought to me by a concerned citizen. I went and looked it over, and with my findings, decided to do an emergency evacuate with that building. There's some major concern there with the structural issues, being on the south side of the building. So we went ahead and did an emergency evacuation with that, and I did provide some pictures. I'm sorry I did not get them in with the packet, but I did put them there on the table for you guys. If you see some of them pictures in there, the structure is not good, especially on the southwest corner there. And after further review, going back and looking at it several more times, my conclusion is that the center of the building is actually falling in, not the outsides. That explains kind of why we did the emergency evacuate and emergency condemnation part of that, the prohibition of evacuation. I had given the owner the packet that you also see there that I've given you guys. And in that packet stated that they were to evacuate within 24 hours at 4:30 the next day, actually. I went ahead and posted everything at 1 o'clock, so they had a few more extra hours to give. I have also given them more time, but they've gone back actually today and they picked up a few things out of the Fellowship thrift store. So I believe everything is pretty close to being out now. All the tenants that were upstairs were places. I did my best to give as much resources as I could. Like I said, this was heavy heart bringing this to you guys and having this done. With that, the attached resolution 2026-2233, my initial findings and condition report are required to start the condemnation process for this property. This resolution sets a public hearing date for this action. The resolution is required to be officially published 2 times a week apart, and then 30 days after that last publication, the public hearing can take place. This puts the public hearing on the City Commission meeting agenda for July 15th, 2026. Again, this property, address 234 and then 238 West 6th Street. The subject property is a multi-story mixed masonry structure containing 6 occupant residential dwellings units above a ground floor commercial occupancy. Presently exhibiting severe structural deterioration and conditions constituting an unsafe and dangerous structure posing an immediate threat to life safety and public welfare. The condemnation process allows the city to force action on a blighted and dilapidated building or property, but oftentimes the city ends up with the cost of demolition, and it is rarely recovered with abandoned properties. The resources available for this help with removing these types of structure or improving the aesthetics of these neighborhoods. If approved, a copy of the resolution will be attached to the owner's letter and mailed certified return receipt. I request to approve resolution 2026-2233 and set the public hearing date Wednesday, July 15th, 2026.
Is it too early to determine what, I guess what the long-term plan for that building is, whether it will be just demolished or if there's, any, ability to save it, or what the owners are, looking towards or for in this situation? I'm just curious.
Owner has not mentioned anything as far as either way, fixing or demolishing at the time. I requested for him to get a structural engineering to give us a report on that so we can actually determine if it can be fixed. I've also, with what I've been looking at and in the many years that I've been in construction and whatnot, from what I can tell, I believe it could be fixed. It may cost quite a bit, but there are some resources out there for him to do that he can get help with to have that fixed. And I plan on talking to him with that, so maybe we can get it fixed. But with that building, from what I'm seeing, the center part of it, the foundation in the center is sunk. And so with that sinking in, you can actually see in a couple pictures there, it shows the center of the building. You can see like where the window, there's a door there. So the one with the two pictures on the page, the bottom picture there, you can see the center underneath that door. You can see a crack along the side of the window also, or is it door or window? Window. Yeah, right next to that. You can see that is a severe stretch crack there. And that is sinking into the building, which in turn is pulling everything up on the outside away. I'm not a structural engineer, but that is what I'm seeing. And I feel it is very unsafe to the public, especially in the back alley. And I would like to see it repaired.
With that, I move to approve resolution 2026-2233.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Appreciate you taking care of this. I have another question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this building, I mean, to me, and I'm not an expert like you, but they look like, this building looks like it's attached to the buildings next to it. Is that the case or no?
So the building to the west, which would be Funk's Mobility,
Uh-huh,
that building has about a foot separation.
okay,
Not very much. The salon next door, when they tore that down and rebuilt, that wall is joining with.
it is a.
It is a joint with that one.
So does that put those buildings in jeopardy as well?
It definitely could. The back half of the building is the majority of the worst part right now. Are you talking like if it was to fall
Yeah,
or anything like that? So yeah, the
or be demolished for that matter.
Funk's Mobility would probably take the majority of that.
Mhm.
With the salon being up Front Street, closer to Sixth Street there are some issues inside the building generally, like, holes and roofs and things like that, but, I don't see that portion messing with the salon as much or falling into the salon. Obviously, yes, if they were to demolish it, there would have to be some sort of,
A
it would
shield
be
or
piece by piece until they got to that wall. So it could.
Mhm.
It's kind of like what we dealt with at the plaza,
Yeah.
having to put that brick wall up. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do appreciate, I can appreciate the concern with not having as much time to be able to process the movement of that, but also I also understand that once you deem a property to be in such compromised condition, that there'd also be a risk in allowing there to be more time. Right, that once it's determined to be in such a compromised condition, it is unfortunate, but that's not the city's responsibility, that's the property owner's responsibility. And we have an obligation to try to ensure the safety of not only the occupants, but everyone. So
Yes.
it is a difficult spot to be in, and I do appreciate it.
We'll move on to demolition bids for 715 East.
On, let's see, March 18th, at the city commission meeting, resolution 2026-22-26 was adopted approving the condemnation of 715 East 8th Street. On March 11th, 2026, the property owner with a signed limited entry and proper retrieval agreement entered the main structure to make sure there weren't any family heirlooms or personal property worth keeping. The owner did not leave with any items. But I'd asked if I would keep her up to date on the demo process and if we had a date for that. The city put out a request for bids in the Blade Empire on the city's website on April 16th and April 23rd of 2026. 2 bids were received. 1 bid from Dalton Dirt Works and 1 bid from Dill Enterprises, and opened on Wednesday, May 13th, 2026 at 10 a.m. Dalton's bid came in at $9,010 and Deals Enterprises came in at $8,500. I am recommending that we go with Deals bid at $8,500. And to demolish the structure and remove the blight at 715 East 8th Street.
I move to accept the bid of $8,500 from Deal Enterprises Incorporated for the demolition of the structures and removal of blood at 715 East 8th Street.
Second,
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say sign. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to the bids for concrete, 19th Street and City Hall North sidewalk.
Commissioners. So city staff intended to hire a qualified concrete contractor for the purpose of construction of a valley gutter across 19th Street to improve stormwater drainage from the south gutter line where water currently accumulates without a proper outlet. The project also included the removal and replacement of a sidewalk on the north side of City Hall. On April 10th, a public request for bids was advertised in the Blade and Fire and on the city website. We also I identified 5 qualified general contractors from our list that I had helped with the city inspector. He kind of helped me identify some people that would be candidates for that. I also emailed them directly about the bid advertisement. So bids were due back May 12th. However, no bids were received. We're requesting permission to negotiate directly with a qualified concrete contractor for the construction of the valley gutter of 19th Street and the removal and replacement of the sidewalk located on the north side of City Hall.
Shane, when you say that we, a qualified concrete contractor, does that require licensure in the city of Concordia?
No. No, it doesn't.
Contractor.
What?
General contractor. Yeah.
General contractors do, yeah. Concrete contractors. No.
Did you get any feedback at all from, I mean, when you solicited, local?
I got one call. I think it's from Kansas Dirt. I called him back and he never called back. He said he was gonna call back and he never did, so.
I was curious, the valley gutter, is that an uncommon, thing for just, typical, like normal general contractors and or concrete companies?
That's pretty normal. Yeah, this one's a little different. Let Jason draw up some specs for it. So it would be right. And it's kind of at a direction. It's not straight across the street. It's kind of in an angle and it widens at one end. So it'd be 3 different floors. Make that happen because it gets wider on one side and narrow on the other. But I mean, it's something, concrete contractor should be able to do.
Mhm.
But I never got anything from anybody else, so.
So in your effort to reach out to different contractors, who are you planning to reach out to? I guess I would wonder if there would be benefit in reaching out to all of the identified concrete contractors and request, since we don't have any accepted bids, then we have the opportunity to go out and talk with them and to gather information as to what we'd be able to do to make this happen. So I think that being able to reach out to the entirety of the list would be beneficial.
Okay. I'll do that.
And then that way we can put together a pretty accessible sheet to give you the best information as to who can do this the best for.
All right.
So we'd be looking to adjust that motion. To negotiate with contractors. Yes,
That'd be my suggestion.
Without any motion.
You would be former statement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would move to allow city staff to negotiate with identified concrete contractors for construction of a gutter on the 19th Street and sidewalk removal and replacement at City Hall.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Resolution 2026-2234, Commission Policy Statement, Multiple User Public Facilities.
Mayor and Commissioners, this is in response to a bill that was passed in this legislative session requiring some additional policy and training for staff regarding the use of multi-user public facilities, meaning changing rooms or restrooms. This is important to us right now because we're getting ready to open up the swimming pool, and that is one of our multi-user changing facilities that's owned by the government. Owned by us. And so the policy is in your packet. It mirrors a lot of what is stated in the law as far as requirements. We try to state it in as simple terms as possible because our staff that works at the pool is primarily teenagers along with some adult management oversight. So it's really important that these folks understand what they're going to be needing to do to help us enforce this new law. The simple part is already done, and that's signage, clear signage on the restrooms. The hard part is making sure that we are communicating clearly with our 14, 15, 16-year-olds that are operating the front desk. They greet folks as they walk in and they direct them to the pool area. The way that our pool is designed, visitors come in, they greet people at the front desk, and then they have to go through one of two changing rooms, either a men's or women's changing room to access the pool. There is one other alternate access, and that's to go through the employee-only area through the lifeguard and manager's office. So we typically direct people through the restrooms. So it's important for the front desk staff to understand how they can manage the policy to make sure that the appropriate gender goes to the appropriate locker room. There will be some training provided here later this week upon passage of this policy, provided to specifically this front office staff as well as the manager, assistant manager, head guard staff. There are some exceptions, and I think if we go down to Section 4, use of facilities, lawful exceptions. The exceptions where opposite sex could go through that changing facility would be for maintenance and custodial purposes. And I can share from my work with K-State Athletics that you always walk in and you holler if anybody's in there, make sure it's clear before you walk into the space. So that would be an expectation as well. If there's an emergency response needed, so if somebody were to slip or fall or have some medical attention and we had to call 911, John's staff could come in to that opposite space and help those folks. Assistance to a minor, elderly, or disabled individual. So let's say that you were bringing a friend or family member to the pool of the opposite sex and they were wheelchair bound or had to use a walker. We want to welcome all ages. They may need some additional assistance in those spaces, and so that would be allowed. Obviously escorted through that area. If law enforcement or medical personnel are performing their official duties, that would be a case. We did receive a question in the policy to ask about what about minor children, and so we did just when I did a little bit of research this afternoon. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah. So you'll see the highlighted section, notably on page 2. One of the exceptions is a child who is under 9 years of age may enter a multi-occupancy private space designated for use only by individuals of the opposite sex if accompanied by an individual caring for such child. So if the child is, I don't like the way this is worded because it says under 9. So is that, I guess it's not 9 and under, it would be 8 and under technically. So anybody who would be accompanying their child who would be 8 years old or under could, if I'm single dad and I've got a 5-year-old daughter, she can walk through the locker room with me, the male locker room, because I would be the male. So that is one of the exceptions there. That has been some questions that have been arisen or that have arisen. And then I also highlighted the penalties, because one of the things that they did with this was there was a bathroom statute prior to this. And this one, they actually put enforcement mechanisms and made it a little bit more specific. So that the teeth in this are any government entity that violates the section is liable for a civil penalty of $25,000 for the first violation and $125,000 for each subsequent violation. Each day of a continuing violation of the section constitutes a separate violation.
So if we don't approve this, the state has the opportunity to fine us.
They do, and the same way, if we do approve it, and let's say that we have an incident where somebody from the opposite sex willingly walks through the opposite room and we don't attempt to correct that behavior, and another patron complains to the attorney generals, that's when the fine hits us.
We have the opportunity to present that to our minor children who are working that to take the responsibility to address that.
That's part of the training that we'll be going through this week. We don't expect our 14, 15, 16-year-olds to confront somebody and actively enforce this. We expect them to monitor, have the backing of the adult supervisors, run things up the chain of command, and let the adults help out with the enforcement. But they need to know that it's important. They need to be aware of what's at stake, and they need to understand what their responsibilities are. So that's part of the training that we'll be going through.
What if it's unknowingly? Like, is there any legally, if it's unknown?
Yeah, that's where it gets complicated, because they don't really have a gray area for this. This was just, whatever reason they needed this. So, generally in that kind of situation, I would look at it as, the problem would be, so if it's reported, let's say something accidentally happens, it's reported, then, we would have an opportunity, I would hope, to respond. Problem with this right now is, the governor's already asked them for clarification on things, because some of this is worded you could actually look at it, does this potentially affect like a private residence or other things too? So they're looking for some clarification on that. I am guessing this is litigated as well. So I would hope that essentially there would be, if there was a report made, we would then be able to respond and say, hey, this was an inadvertent situation. No one intentionally did this. I feel from reading this and just kind of the general tenor of the legislatures that this is for people who would intentionally do this. So I would hope that, some kind of unintentional situation like that, we would not be hit with such a fine, but it doesn't really give, in my reading, an area like, hey, if you make a mistake, that's okay. Doesn't.
We're providing the training. We have clarification as to procedures to follow.
And that will be part of it, because part of it is, okay, if someone does do that, if it's an inadvertent or even not inadvertent, then we are able to say, hey, we have put this training into place. I'm not going to send a 14-year-old into another bathroom to confront an adult because I value the safety of our workers and our children over that. So, we can then say, hey, listen, we've had the training. This is how we're going to go. This is how we go about this. So big thing's going to be having a policy and showing that they have been trained. Those are going to be the two main responses we would have if there was a complaint. So yes, we are aware of this. We have trained our folks, and we also have a policy in place.
I noticed that the policy says public swimming pool, but down under A, it says city-owned or operated facilities, parks, buildings, swimming pool. So is this policy just for the pool, or are we gonna?
My guess is that it would be only specifically the pool because there are staff there to monitor that, whereas at the plaza, if it becomes an issue, then it can be reported to police who then can address it.
Yeah.
The Brown Grand.
No,
It's owned by the city.
So the facilities that are owned by the city, but that are managed by somebody else, so we have management agreement with the Brown Grand, we have management agreement with Cloudport for the plaza, those are not applicable here. So
Okay.
yes, the primary concern, I think Chuck, you're exactly right, we have staff there monitoring, and so that's when.
So it would be applicable to the ball fields then as well.
yeah. So it really is a policy for all city buildings. And not just the pool.
So you're thinking we need to amend the title of the policy to add,
Well,
to be more broad?
yeah, maybe what section A says, just so it's consistent.
Okay, so I'm seeing the title of the policy says public swimming pool, where else are you looking?
Under A,
Under A.
this policy applies to, and then
Yeah.
it lists
Okay.
everything.
Okay, yeah, so you're saying the title would need to be consistent with that, because that A under section 1 is directly derived from the language of the law.
That makes sense to us too.
We can amend that title of policy. We were also thinking, as we were talking about those exceptions that Justin was sharing, that we need to add in that language about the, under 9 years old can be accompanied by an adult. We think we need to add that into the exceptions to make it clear too. So we'd like to ask for that amendment as well. And that would be under section 4B. So we would add section 4B E to incorporate that language that we discussed.
Yeah, I'll pull it straight from.
Yeah.
Yes.
Would it need to also clarify any of those other, like where it specified individuals maybe with disabilities or, you know, some of the other clauses or not?
No, I don't want to try to start defining disability. I don't want to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
If it becomes an issue, we might have to make, but yeah, we don't want to tread into
No,
that territory
right.
right now.
I got you.
I think we should also note that if we do have individuals that feel the need to use the opposite restroom, we do have single user facilities available on the east side of the pool. And over the past few years, we have had some situations where we have asked them to use those restrooms. And so that'll help us to be consistent with the law too. So we don't have to do any major facility modification this year to be in compliance with this law. It would be something that if we got to the point where we started discussing the possibility of reconfiguration of the swimming pool or rebuilding it, then we would need to be mindful of that in the design.
Can we, those restrooms that are considered single occupancy, can we just designate those as either gender?
Look to see if we can do that or not.
I,
With the passage of this clause, I'm not sure if we can do that or not.
so single occupancy private space means a facility designed or designated for use by only one individual at a time and in which the individual may be in a state of undress. Single occupancy private space includes was not going to do single toilet restrooms with a locking door, family restroom, or a changing room. So yes, I think they would, because a family restroom could be anybody, you know, and different genders.
So we could put those as family. Could we do that? Honestly, I think I'll feel more comfortable about it because I know people in this community who feel like they can't use a public restroom anymore.
Yeah, we can take a look at that. I know Chris was concerned about the space availability and not being able to add like changing tables and things. So we'll go through to make sure that if we change that signage that we're in compliance with other like ADA type rules and things. But I think we could, from this law standpoint, we could certainly do that.
I believe that that's an important change to me.
Yeah, because I do believe, because later on in this bill says it shall be a violation of this section for an individual to enter a multi-occupancy private space designed for use only by individuals of the opposite sex, except as permitted by this subsection. So I think, yeah, you can read it.
So like those times when I'm in a line at the restroom and there's nobody in the men's room and we go into the men's room to use that facility,
You've not violated.
we have violated the law.
If it's a government.
Mhm.
Well, only if it's a multi, like not if it's a single restroom though, right?
Yeah.
If it's a single
But I
restroom,
think
then you're not
about, like,
violating anything.
Yeah, technically, no, you wouldn't be.
Technically, no, if it's a single.
So
I'm
I
talking
will
like,
have to know what's inside there before I step
Right.
over the
Do it.
threshold.
And are those restrooms then used for the tennis meets? Is
Oh.
that what they use as their primary restroom? So perhaps then too, that would be a benefit, to that you could use either
Yeah.
bathroom because they're just single use,
Yeah.
for that as well.
Yes, so we need to go through and make sure that if we do that, we're not making a situation worse per code. Because if you're in an existing situation, you're typically grandfathered until you trigger something that would trigger you. So we need to double check that first.
So
It is, but if that's the case, that seems like a really good solution.
Yeah.
All the pressing matters.
We have a motion with those two amendments. 3 amendments.
Well, I move to approve resolution 2026-2234 with the changing of the policy title from the public swimming pools to include the other items under section A or section 1A, as well as including language from Senate Bill 244. Let's see, section 1C2. And then looking into changing the exterior restrooms to be family restrooms.
I would second, just to help ensure that we aren't fined by the state for being out of line with the dictated regulations.
Any further discussion? More questions? A motion is second. Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Reports, managers report.
Mayor Commissioners, I am pleased to report we are looking forward to city clerk interviews next week. So hopefully we'll have some great candidates that will emerge and be able to make an offer very quickly.
Do you have how many candidates or how many applications have?
So far, we've got 2 viable.
Nothing more from managers report. We'll move on to staff reports.
Okay, well, update, May 26th is when real construction plans on starting 7th Street. So be prepared. There's be a lot of traffic on that road. Also, after the storms, we've gotten one section complete. We're working on a second section. It's gonna be a long process, unfortunately, but my guys are plugging away at it, working 10-hour days. We're doing a great job. It's gonna be a lot, so bear with us.
And the limb removal. The limb removal.
Yes.
Do you have, is it like for people to have an awareness of what areas you're gonna be in, or we're headed this way?
Oh, yeah,
or-
we just posted it today.
Did you? Okay, I
Um,
didn't see that.
So we're kind of going off the same map we use for spring cleanup. It seems to be pretty easy. We've gotten done section 5. And now we've moved into section 3. Particularly because they're getting ready to start that project. We want to be done with 7th Street before that happens. And then we'll either go to section 4 or 3. Or 2, whatever, however that.
But you did post it. I
Yeah,
missed
it is
that.
definitely
Thank you.
posted, sorry.
Right.
A tangent.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are we not powder coating the grates we're putting around the trees downtown? Because they're already rusty.
Yeah, I was kind of shooting for that look. Is that not the look we wanted to go for?
Rusty
You
old.
know, I've had people ask me why we didn't have.
I don't know. I've noticed quite a few grates in bigger cities where they were rusted out. I mean, got the rusty look, and it's contained inside that box. So I thought maybe that would look good. At a later day we could come back and get that done if we wanted to. I don't think it's make or break deal, but we could definitely look at that.
Eventually it'll all be that rust color.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, then it'll be uniform.
Yeah, the ones on the trailer are still brand new, but yeah, eventually they'll all be uniform in color. So I think the trees will definitely take away from all that, and you'll see how beautiful those are. So, any other questions?
So,
So all you guys know, we did have that big windstorm come in. We've identified a few problems that we're currently working on. I don't know if you noticed on Facebook, we're really trying to pump out there where our storm shelters are, how they work, all that. I will say that the city of Concordia only has one FEMA shelter, and that's the elementary school, which is, I'm working with McKenna on maybe trying to, if some federal grants open up, maybe get another storm shelter on the west side of town instead of this on the east side of town. That takes a process, of course, but we just mainly want to educate people of, we haven't had a big event in a while. I think 92 was the last major event. And then we tried to educate with people as we were swamped with multiple calls, multiple power lines down, trees down. And we're trying to get everybody to stay home, but as you know, everybody wants to come out and look at the damages, and we're just trying to educate people to stay in where it's safe. I know power's out, everybody wants to do something, but that's the stuff we've been really pushing out lately, is to try to educate everybody on safety. Is, hey, when we're out and city crews are out, Camille and I trying to work on this stuff with live power lines and stuff, just to stay home, so. But we are kind of working on trying to get another FEMA shelter as well, so.
You had a while back, this came to my mind today when I was reading, a car had got towed off I think it was in the appropriations, but, were you able to get rid of all the impound cars now, like they're gone, or?
So we're currently still working on that with Justin.
We're still working on that. That had to be put on the back burner for some other things, but we're picking that back up. I have a petition. It's a massive petition because of all the information we have to put in for all the vehicles that are out there. We're getting there. So I don't want to say it's almost done, but I have it done.
How many vehicles do they still have?
Roughly 30 some, I think.
And yeah,
17 is the count for the old ones.
I was
Okay,
gonna say,
so is it
If there's more.
I was thinking 15.
Okay, so that was a 12-hour thing, and you got them down at 17. After we learned that we had to do it a different way, so I think there is 17, sorry.
Okay.
It just seems like a lot, but.
Well, we hadn't talked about it in a while on.
Yeah, no,
I was just.
We were hoping they would blow away. They did not. So.
yeah, so we're currently looking.
Chief, before,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have a couple of things.
Yes.
I was asked if there was a chance we could put one of those yellow signs for crosswalks there by the city pool where you come across
Oh, on 11th Street.
on 11th Street.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Tennis
that
courts.
corner is. State, is it
Shane, do you
state?
have any more of those?
What? Sorry.
Do you have any more of those crosswalk signs that go in the?
Oh, yeah, I got one.
Okay, perfect. I think we can take care of that.
And maybe even one in the middle of the street, is that what you're looking?
Yeah, there,
Yeah.
that,
On 11th
Oh,
Street, there
yeah,
we
I
just
planned on.
Those are really effective.
They've been longer. I'm gonna get a couple more, I think.
Yeah.
and heavily. I still see a lot of kids underage driving golf carts and
So,
scooters
yeah,
in
so
the middle of the street.
two things on that. I'm still finishing up the scooter ordinance that I'd like to present to you guys. I'm just about done. Hopefully next week, Amy and I can review that and then bring it to you guys. Second thing is we've really ramped up with our officers. We just had a meeting about golf carts the other day, and I made them read the ordinance on that. So I'm hoping my officers will start identifying those and dealing with that. So we actually talked about that today, so. Yeah. Anything else? Sorry.
Are there any other staff reports? Thank you. Any other staff reports? Okay, Mayor Commissioner comments and reports.
No, anything else I asked?
I just, kind of in regard to the tree limbs, I mean, I think there's more than limbs, I think there's trees, right, that we're still working with. And I'm sure everyone's noticed, but as I'm driving around, I see a lot of dead branches, limbs that are still hanging. That I would anticipate if we get a decent win, once it goes ahead and dies, that it's gonna become more of a liability. And so I would imagine that I would like for the city to continue to do what we can to help residents to whatever degree we are as those limbs continue to fall. I know we want to do a clean sweep, and I know that we've got a lot of work that you all are doing, so I'm not trying to do that, but I think it's going to be important to continue. I think it's just going to take a lot for us to continue trying to manage the ongoing effects of the storm. So do with that what you would. I had a question. For the flag poles that we have in our public spaces, where do we usually secure the flag, or where do we get our flags from?
Chris orders those like Carrot Top.
Industries.
I wanted to throw out an idea, and again, we can do with this what we would, about working with our community to see if we would have groups or individuals that would maybe be interested in sponsoring a certain flagpole. I know that there are members in our neighborhood that generally will replace the flag at Hood Park, at least on an annual basis, or if not, when it starts to look more compromised. And I just think it would be an opportunity to engage community pride, where we can maybe help save some money from the city, but I think that there are people that would sign up for it. I don't want it to become more problematic than what ordering a flag would be on our own, but maybe give an opportunity for different folks to become involved.
Pass that along.
Well, I just want to say that I think that the cleanup has been pretty efficient considering how many tree limbs were down and what a mess we had. I was fortunate that I was able to gather up my own tree limbs, whether I wanted to or not. But I've heard from a number of people that they're grateful that the city is going to pick those up. And I see piles everywhere. I know it's gonna be a big job, but it's always good to live in a community where people care about each other. And I know I've seen neighbors helping neighbors, and just it's been heartwarming, I think.
Well, I've asked all the questions, but I agree, I think people, if you have the capability of taking your branches to the landfill, I would encourage people to do that. And it's not muddy out there. I was there today with a carload of stuff. But neighbors, my yard's full of the neighbors' branches that they put in my yard, but that's all right. You'll pick them up. So
Yes, we will,
eventually.
at some point.
I wanted to thank city crew, everybody, EMS, fire,
Yeah.
roads, everyone for all the work that they've done, linemen, and Caleb with PNCK. I listened to you, I drove through it twice, and it was really nice to have a calm voice, kind of letting us know where everything was. So the whole community really pulled together, and really appreciate all the work everybody's did. That's all I have.
I would make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed can stay here.